In this video, we're going to talk about perfect tense verbs. So we started this lesson by talking about past, present, future verbs. Most people know how to form a past tense verb. You just add ed to something, like walk would become walked. Present tense is just, it's happening right now. In future tense, it happens in the future. So you'd add will, like will walk. So that was all review, but today what we're going to talk about is past perfect, present perfect, and future perfect. And what these verbs do is they give us more of a specific timeline for when events happen. So we're going to start with past perfect. And if we look at the definition, a past perfect verb is an action that took place in the past before another action that took place in the past. And in order to make a past perfect verb, you need the word had plus a past participle of the verb. Now, a past participle, that's just a fancy way of saying a past tense verb. So like walk, the past participle of walk would be walked with the ed. If I wanted to make it a past perfect, I just put the word had on there, and now it's past perfect. So if we take a look at an example sentence of a past perfect verb, notice how we have Josh had stopped home to grab gear before the football game. So what's happening here is we're focusing on this had stopped. Notice how it has our keyword have, or had it in there. And what this tells us, if we look at this timeline right here, is this tells us that the game happened in the past. But first, before that even happened, Josh stopped home to get his gear. So this just gives us a more of a description of when things are happening. Let's take a look at our next form of verb. Our next form of verb is present perfect. And our definition is it's an action that took place in the past and continues in the future. And what we do is we just use the word has or have, and then the past participle of the verb. So in other words, if I have the word walk, that's the past participle. Walk is walked. We just put have walked. Now it's present perfect. So if we look at a sentence, for an example, okay, we're just going to focus on this sentence right here. Her dancing skills have improved a lot. So notice how we're focused on this have improved, and it does have our key word have. And what we're saying here is way back a few years ago, her dancing skills started to improve, and is continuing to improve even up right now in the present. So again, this just gives us a little bit more of a detail when things are happening. That takes us to the future tense, future perfect tense. And these verbs, this is a little bit longer definition, but these verbs describe two actions. And the first action occurs sometime before the second action, and the second action happens in the future. And our formula for this is we need to have the word will or am, and then we combine that with the past participle of the verb, and you get a future perfect tense verb. So if I have walk, my past participle of walk would be walked with the ed, and then if I just add will, and in this case I'd have to add have, the helping verb have, will have walked, and this makes it future. So if we take a look at an example sentence for future perfect tense, Ben will have been to Disney World 3 times before he turns 5. So notice how we have our future perfect tense right there. We have our keyword have, and what we're saying here, if we look at a timeline, is this is going to happen way out in the future. So Ben's going to turn 5 way out in the future. But before that happens, he's going to have been to Disney World 3 times. But even Disney World is in the future, because he hasn't been to Disney World 3 times yet. It's going to happen in the future, but it's going to happen before he turns 5. So it's before that. So again, the purpose of these verbs are just to give us more detail when something happens. So let's take a look at a few other examples just so we get really good at this. And we talked about the simple is past, present, future. We all know how to form these, so that's not something that we're going to go over too much in this video. But what I do want to talk about is Past perfect again. Now, if we take a look at this clock, so I use a timeline on my example. We can also think of it as a clock. So this is present. Right now we're at 11 o'clock. And if we're talking about a past perfect verb, that would be event B, because event A is happening in the past, but event B is happening before the past. So if event A happens at 10 o'clock, then event B is going to happen sometime before that, like at 8 o'clock. So if we take a look at an example sentence here, it had been sunny before the storm clouds filled the sky. Notice we're looking for our keyword had, and notice how it had been is our verb. And then notice how sunny happened way in the past, but even these storm clouds fill in the sky, that happened in the past too. Notice how this is a past tense verb. They had eaten dinner already when she called. Okay, again, we're looking for our keyword, which is had, so had eaten. Notice how had eaten dinner happened way in the past, and then she called. That actually happened in the past too, but it happened after this. All right, so let's take a look at present tense. So present tense, if we have a clock here again, and if 11 o'clock is present tense, remember the verb starts before the present. So it starts somewhere in the past here, and it's continuing into the present. So it's continuing all the way up to right now, which is 11 o'clock. So if we take a look, and we do use our keywords has or have. If we take a look at a couple examples here, our dancing skills have improved a lot. Notice how we have there as our keyword. So have improved is our present perfect tense verb. And what we're talking about here is our dancing skills started improving, way back a couple years ago, and they're continuing to improve. Jack has never been to college. Again, we're talking about our keyword here has, and we find it, and then that we find our verb. And we're saying that Jack, he hasn't been to college in the past, and he still hasn't been to a college football game even today. So that this conveys time. Last one we're going to talk about is future perfect. Future perfect, again, our current time, you can't see it here, is 11 o'clock. And our first event is going to start, somewhere before the second event. Notice how event B is after 11. So event B is like 12:30, whatever that is right there. And our first event could either be in the past, could be in the present, even could be in the future, as long as it's before event B. Our keywords are will or am. And if we take a look at a couple sentences, Beth will have eaten a power bar before it's time for her to line up for the race. Looking for those keywords, will or am. Found it right there, will have eaten is our future tense verb. So we don't know when she's going to eat this power bar. We do know the race has not started yet. That's in the future. But sometime before that race, she's going to eat that power bar. Are you going to have eaten before you stop by? Again, we're looking for that have. And we're looking for it to be future. Okay. Will have been to Disney World. We already talked about that. Most students will not have read that book, and we kind of cut that off at the screencastify, so we're going to move past that.